Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and listen, I've got to be honest with you. I was planning on kind of making this video like a joke video, because usually I go into a bunch of facts, right? And like, this house originated in this area, and so on, so I was going to say like, this house originated in trees, and the main architectural style is trees, right? But then, because I'm me, I had to look it up, just in case. First off, blame the French, but there's actually like a history behind the treehouse and how it came to be popular and actually like a legit style of residential architecture. So, I was not expecting to actually have like nerd points to share with you on the treehouse, but here we are. So the idea of living in trees can be traced back to the South Pacific and Southeast Asia, and by the Middle Ages it was actually used pretty commonly in a handful of religious practices. Monks and the like would create tree dwellings to meditate or to sort of have a physical way of manifesting being elevated above the ways of the world. They kind of died out a little bit, but then in the Renaissance era, the French actually sort of brought this back into popularity, and tree houses were used from everything from garden structures to restaurants. They could be enjoyed by the nobility and normies alike, which is super cool. Very rare is there a residential architecture type that, like, everybody partakes in. And of course it's the treehouse. To fast forward very quickly to modern day United States, the treehouse is a legit form of residential architecture. It's around the world, not just in the United States, but there are whole shows and websites dedicated to the art of making a livable treehouse. Of course, a treehouse can still most often be used for like a playhouse structure or a cabin or like a cool Airbnb sort of rental thing. But there are legitimately people who just live in tree houses. It's cool. There are even whole like treehouse styles, and there are eras of tree houses, and I'm not going to go into a lot of that today just because I wanted to simply give you the basics of how to actually basically get a house to float and then put trees under it. So quick video today, a little bit different than usual because I wasn't planning on this one being scripted, but here we are. If you do want to read more though, I highly recommend checking out the Pinterest board in the video description, which has all of the reference images that you see here on the screen, as well as all the articles that I read and referenced to get this put together for you today. I thought that this cute little family ranch would be a great place to go over the basics of the treehouse, just like make a little playhouse to start with basically. To build the treehouse, what you're going to do is draw a room, draw another room, and then delete your first room. Now you have a little floating box and you can place this wherever you need it. Just drag these arrows around. You can raise and lower it by using this. And that's essentially how you place a treehouse. The tree fades away, so you should be able to still go in the tree. I'm going to send whoever this is, Jennifer. We're going to see if Jennifer can climb up into the treehouse. So we should be good to go. But it's always good to test out when you start building the treehouse to make sure that you can actually use it. Now that we know our treehouse is usable, we can sort of flesh it out a little bit. One of the issues we're going to run into with this is we can't actually really build from very far away when this tree is here. Something I like to do is sort of take note of where the tree is and use a fence or something like that to sort of trace out where it's placed. So if I sort of bake this little corner, I know that my tree is going to fit right in there, and then I can move it out of my way while I continue building. I should be able to add a little bit of a room here, and I'd like to add a little deck off the back. I'm going to place one of these square tiles and shrink it down so that I can place it a little bit better. Move my ladder over, and double check the placement again by putting my tree back. Should be right about here. Alright, so now my build looks like it's sort of wrapping around the tree, which is great. It's totally functional because it's on a different level than the tree itself, and now all you have to do is decorate. I'm going to move my tree away again. There aren't really any style rules. Literally the only rule for a treehouse to be a treehouse is it has to be supported by the tree. I feel like this would be a perfect opportunity to use the roof textures from the Werewolves pack, but I don't have that pack. And those are the very basics of how to actually get a treehouse started in The Sims 4. Now I'm going to switch worlds and do a slightly more complicated one, but I figured we'd take a look at how this one turned out anyway. Really, you can do quite a lot in a really small space, and if you're just looking for an area to store some of your kids' play items, have an excuse to use some crazy colors, a treehouse is a great place to do that. You could of course do a whole tiny home, or really, if we really wanted to go for it, I bet we could do a mansion in trees. Not today though. But I do want to show you how to like connect different levels and stuff, so let's do that next. I would say prove me wrong, but I know I'm right. Sulani is a great place to build a treehouse. I have a nice little family that already lives here. I don't remember any of their names, but let's see if we can't build a house that will actually work for this family. There is a toddler, so we have to make sure that we have toddler accessibility, which means stairs, not ladders. And looks like we'll need at least 3 bedrooms, which is a great challenge. There is quite a bit of water on this lot. I may end up placing some trees in the water, but I don't really care. It's a lovely lot. So I'm going to just stick with base game and island living. I think it's been made pretty clear that this can be done with any pack, half a pack, all the packs. Like literally the only rule is that it has to be supported by a tree or appear to be supported. It's a Sims 4. We can literally make floating houses if we want to. My point is, the rules here are very, very few and far between, so we should be able to have a blast. We do have these trees that sort of look like they're more meant to sort of be leaning out, so I think placing these toward this end of the build will work great. And then we'll add some of these less leaning palm trees up here. Start with a little sort of dock here. And let's start moving some rooms around. I think we'll actually just have this go straight up into like a kitchen and family room sort of area. Which will have to be a fair size, but not huge. In theory, if I make everything on the quote-unquote second level, all of the rooms will be visible at the same time, even though they'll appear to be on different levels, which is great. I need to make sure my stairs are going to connect, and they will not, so I'm going to fix that by pulling this out one. There we go. That's going to be important. I can also start to add a few of these trees to help it look like they're sort of supporting the structure. If you feel like you want some more variety in your tree size, you can use the bracket keys to scale up or down. Building is going to get a little annoying because of all these leaves in the way. However, remember that they will fade away when you're actually playing, which is great. Alright, I'm going to build another room, and this one I'm going to move... oh, not move that way. I feel like I'm playing some really weird Tetris game. And this I'm going to make be, I think, the parents' bedroom, and then I'll also put a toddler bedroom sort of in this general area as well. Making sure that your ladders are going to connect is probably, well, ladders or stairs are going to connect from level to level will be one of the more difficult parts, where you're going to have to move them up and down and this way and that way. This connects pretty well, which is nice. Then I can have my sort of main bedroom here and a toddler room. Probably I'm going to need a bathroom. I think I'll just stick that on sort of the back here. And before I add more trees, I'm going to just do the last bedroom. Just start on the second level here, and then move this room away to where I actually want the bedroom to be. I had this idea that if I sort of like cross the tree over like this, I can add another really tiny sort of lookout point. I know that the trees like being in the water this far is probably not too realistic, but again, I don't care. I'm having a good time. To get that point, I'm probably going, there we go, to have to rebuild a second story over here. It's still technically the same level, as you can tell because we can see the floor and everything. I just moving the story over from this area would be really difficult. And then I can sort of move this to be attached to this part of the tree. But if you feel like you need some extra support, you can throw down a column or two. I feel like this part isn't as much a tutorial as more like a build with me while I figure this out. Hopefully you don't mind too much. Nailed it. Nice. Now all I have to do is add a little deck right here again so that I can connect some stairs. Alright, and see, this is not connecting properly, so I'm going to try scooching this up just a touch. Looks like I got rid of my other stairs, but this connects now. So, oh no, they do still work. Okay, perfect. Something deleted. Don't know what. Now that my base structure is in place, I can add the rest of the trees and columns I may want for more support. Another little fun thing you can do is draw out sort of like a little hole in some of your decks or even your floors and place a tree in there. That's the wrong tree. There we go. This particular part of my house is a little bit too tall to really make much sense for the trees to be over there, so I'm adding a few columns, but the rest of it's looking pretty good as far as trees are concerned. Now that I've put all these trees in my way, let's throw down a roof. I did a whole video on how to roof homes in Sulani, but if you missed it, here are the basics. Go ahead and start with a fully hipped roof and drop it down pretty low as far as like a pitch goes, and then you're going to add a gable on top of it. This can be facing any direction, but when you pitch it down, it'll have sort of open faces and still that cross piece, which let's see if I can see any. Well, this one's not quite the exact same, but sort of that layered roof look. That's the only one we can see from here. Play around with it, get a shape that you like, and then add some nice bright colors. Of course, you don't always have to roof like that. You could do lots of other things too. One thing Island Living did come with was actually thatched roofs. This was way before cottage living came out, but they do have the little like overhanging trim pieces. So that can be really cute and sort of give that adventurous treehouse vibe as well. And I'm kind of liking the mismatched roofs here. So let's add, I think, a skylight. I'm going to use a few half gable pieces. If I just start with one and pitch it to where I want it, I can copy and place 2 more. The middle one will have no eaves, and these we will move the eaves away from the center. This way we can add some glass, as well as some roof. I'll copy this roof piece one more time to cover the bathroom. There's a funky little roof for us. You don't exist. For safety reasons, I do recommend railing in most of these areas. I think it'd be so cool if Sims could actually like fall off stuff. Oh, that's right, I wanted to show you guys how to make a bridge. Alright, I have to get rid of these trees so I can actually show you. Once again, I'm going to start with sort of these really narrow pieces just because they'll actually place properly on the sides of these builds. And I'm going to line it up. Looks like we can overlap 2 tiles. So go with that. And then in between here, I'm going to draw a little room, add a flat piece on top of it, and delete my room. You can do this with as many levels sort of as you want. This one already has quite a slope, so we won't be doing a hanging bridge, but the method is pretty much still the same. You're sort of going to pick your ends, pick your low point, which in this case is right here, and then you're going to do your best to match up your other flat floor pieces in such a way that you can connect them with stairs. You can't get them too close, which is where some of the little tricky bits come in. It is letting me place it like this, which is interesting, to say the least. Alright, so this isn't like the coolest bridge ever, but it's basically that concept if you're going to sort of stack those flat floor pieces and then connect them with the stairs where you can. I do recommend adding some floor trim, something sort of wood looking. Not only will this help it look like it's sort of grasping onto the trees, but it just looks a lot better than leaving the drywall. Or whatever that little ridge is supposed to be. Come on, there we go. I guess I should put my trees back. I didn't really have a huge plan for this video. Like I said, I thought it was kind of going to be like a joke video, just because like it's a tree house and like it originated in trees, ha ha ha, and it can be found anywhere there are trees, which is technically true. I just didn't realize like all the history and stuff behind it. So I was just going to come in here, build a couple of houses, be like, ha, isn't this fun? And instead, I still ended up with a history lesson and some cool houses, so I think it's still a winner. Because we're building in Sulani, I'll be sticking with some nice bright island vibes. A treehouse is also a great option if you want to do something like off the grid but make it fun. I can stick a nice little kitchen in here and still have lots of space for living and dining. Well, not lots of space, but like, come on, it's a treehouse. We do have a toddler, and I know bathtubs aren't like necessary for toddlerhood, but this bathtub from Island Living is gorgeous, so we're going to use it. Gonna add the rest of the basic plumbing, and then we will give it a little playtest. One last little detail is this foundation right here. I'm going to switch it out for something sort of on stilts, because I think it matches the rest of the build a little better. And now we will do some playtesting and make sure all these ladder placements actually work, and then troubleshoot if necessary. Alright, can you get here? Yes. Okay, and when we zoom in, the trees disappear. It's a lovely little outlook tower. That is delightful. Small child, please don't play in the toilet. I just need to know if you can get here. Perfect. Alrighty then. I will put this one on the gallery. If you've missed it, all of the builds that we've done so far in this series, most of them a little bit more tutorial-esque than this one. They're just going to be whatever the style is. Today is Treehouse, and then Shell. And my ID is sahmandbean. All this information will be in the video description as well. I wasn't able to give you a lot of facts and data this episode, but we can still do a little bit of a recap. So, the number one rule for a treehouse is it has to look like it's primarily supported by trees, which we have here. You can put your trees wherever you want and adjust them around so that it looks like they're supporting your house, and when you actually go to play, they will fade away from existence, which is extremely handy. When it comes to actually laying down the floors of your treehouse, the way that you're going to get a floating treehouse effect is by drawing a room on top of that, and then you're going to move this room around your lot to surround your trees or whatever else you want. A helpful tip for actually getting decks up on this level is to place your flat square wherever it may fit, shrink it down to only 1 tile wide, and then place it. For whatever reason, it just slots more easily that way, and then from there you can reshape it however you want. I didn't feel comfortable giving exact dimensions while I was building with this one, just because it's going to depend on your trees and where you're placing them and how much you want your trees to overlap and so many other things. So do what's going to make the most sense. I guess, and don't feel afraid to like play around with it and move things around a bit. I know this video was a bit of a loose one, but hopefully you enjoyed it anyway and picked up a couple of things to try out in the future. If you enjoyed this one, you're probably really going to enjoy yesterday's video if you missed it. I learned a lot about the ranch style and it was a blast. That whole playlist can be found right up here in this card. If I still have the last time I built a treehouse on the channel, I'll link that video. If it is not still on the channel, then I will link a video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. Yeah, go and build a treehouse, guys. Relax today. Have some fun. Thanks so very much for building with us today. If you haven't already, I highly recommend subscribing and coming back tomorrow for a slightly more, serious tutorial. But this was a fun little break. Thanks so much for building with us today, and I look very much looking forward to building with you again tomorrow. Bye!